All right, so thanks again for coming. I think everybody knows me. I'm Mark Guerrero. I'm Associate Department Chair. I wanted to host this Let's Connect because my role is majority focused on curriculum within the department, and I'm also chairing the EHE Curriculum Committee. I'm coming in the shoes of Colette, so thanks for leading the way, and a lot of what has been helpful for us in terms of sort of streamlining our curricular processes has been this Qualtrics that we're using to kind of have people submit their curricular changes so that it can be more streamlined and tracked so that we know where it is in various approvals. Because as I continue to learn, there's lots and lots of layers of approval for any kind of curricular change, both at the course level and at the program level. So, and the program is much more intense in terms of the review and all the steps it has to go through. And then some of the individual course changes are a little bit quicker to get through. So I will leave it at that and open it up if there are particular questions that people have that brought you here to this space and wanting to connect. I'd love to hear it, and we can, respond, troubleshoot, and share whatever might be going on, or build answers to the questions that you have.
I have a question.
Yes, thanks, Leah.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Leah Herner-Patnode. I work at the Lima campus. I'm the program coordinator there for the Department of Education. So my question, of course, is going to revolve around the new dual primary license and the issues that we ran across. How can we prevent that from happening again? Because I currently, from what I understand, still don't have an approved program, but I have students who want to be in it. I mean, there was an approval, but I haven't gotten the final, yes, we can advertise this program. It is good to go. We can broadly say, students, come on down, join this program sheet. And so, and I know there was a committee that was skipped, and then they had to go back to a committee for this program approval, like it was approved at the state, and then it had to go back. Is there any way that this whole process could be noted, written down someplace so that like the next people that are going through this don't have to go through this?
Yeah, no, thank you for just so everybody's on the same page. I don't really know all the intricacies of what happened in this particular situation. And I worry that it might prevent, I don't think it's because it's dual across TNL and Ed Studies, but that could contribute to it, because it's like, well, who's ultimately responsible? And then it is Ed Studies, which we figured out later, but we don't really know, like, okay, well, sometimes we think TNL is doing it, and sometimes, so there could have been some of that. My understanding of the situation is that OAA messed up, that something happened that they never actually forwarded to get it approved by the state. Or it went to the state and got approved without OAA formally approving it. So one of those things happened. So I'm going to just say, oftentimes when it leaves EHE, like it's out of our hands. And it's hard to track it, and we follow up. We're asking Randy Smith is the main university person. He's vice provost for, I don't actually know his title, but it's around academic affairs and curricular development. But Katie Reed is his assistant and does a lot of the coordinating. And so I do appreciate that they were quick to try to track down the issue, and they did own that there was a mistake. And I don't know if that's out of our hands in a lot of ways, and I don't know how to prevent that, other than I don't know why there was a mistake in the first place. Some of it could have been around Danielle. Danielle was the EHE college curriculum manager. It could have been around her leaving and maybe some things getting lost, or not being able to have a direct sort of like connection and follow up to ensure that OAA is doing what they need to do. We have Aaron Bagent, B-A-G-E-N-T, who is now, he's the new curricular manager with EHE, and he just started like a month ago maybe, but he's really great. He's really on top of things, really taking initiative to build those relationships with the graduate school and OAA for those kind of curricular processes. So I think that will help prevent things from maybe getting lost or mistakes in the future. I will say I was still waiting to get Randy's official approval. Leah, you never got that yet?
I've got nothing.
Okay.
So I'm a little, as you can tell, I'm a little frustrated because all along the way, if I knew who I was supposed to ask where it was in the process, I would ask and, but I thought like once it was approved at the state, I was good to go. I could advertise to students, I could promote to students, and then I had to like pull back. So I'm meeting with freshmen like next week, and freshmen should be able to jump into this program sheet. And I feel like I'm not sure if I'm allowed to put people, into this program sheet. And also we're starting fall recruiting with, seniors in high school. And this is going to be a huge recruiting thing for us. So I don't want to have to pull back from that.
Yeah, I'll follow up on that and also forward you what I got from Katie that has some approval. She just said it's approved, but Randy is going to send the official email. And I was like, okay, well, I'm still waiting. So I thought maybe I just got missed. So yeah, I'll make sure that gets to you, and that should give you confidence that you can move forward.
Okay, that's great, because I don't want to do something that's not official, neither does my dean. So I want to, follow the right process. But also, again, anybody that would come behind me that would create a new program, if they could avoid any of these issues, then that would be great. So
yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Is anybody on this call also thinking about new programs? We've experienced a lot of challenges with this. Yes, Don.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm not thinking about new programs, so I'm probably out of order with this. Not out of order in a bad way, but maybe this is coming up. I just think that, thank you, that since what I heard from what the new plans are, the new academic plans are, is that there is going to be serious attention to diversity in the courses. So I think that this is just the right time now to look at every class and every course and make sure there is diversity in terms, so reading assignments, maybe speakers, those kinds of things. So we can be proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, that's a good point. And how do we build that into the review as people come up with new classes, that we can have that be a metric that is part of, here's all of the checklists. So EHE Curriculum Committee has a checklist of everything they should be looking at. Our undergrad and grad studies doesn't currently. We just kind of look and say like, yeah, this looks good. But I think we could try to develop a similar kind of checklist and then make sure that diversity is one of those things that people are actually looking for and questioning maybe further if they don't see it. Excellent.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks. And that would align with the Provost Gilliam's new academic plan, because inclusive excellence is part of it.
Yep.
Lauren, go ahead.
All right, thanks. So maybe following up on that, and then something you mentioned earlier, could you just talk a little bit both to that new academic plan from the provost, but also how it aligns with the department's priorities so that we can keep those in mind as we think about our courses and programs and things like that?
Great question. And I should have probably read the academic plan a little bit more closely, but it just came out yesterday. So we are going to review and look at how it aligns. So other people have ideas like Donna just brought up. There is this sense of the academic plan is much bigger and broader. It's all OA, any unit, and so it's all the way from, I don't know, faculty eminence, right? Like that's partly curricular, but it's also general faculty and recruiting and all of that, to organizational efficiency, right? Like, so I think that it's like this operational strategic plan that's just called an academic plan. But I feel like there are definitely ways we can connect. But broadly, I know the university is just trying to grow enrollments and credit hour generation across the board, and trying to think innovatively of how to do that because of the declines that we're seeing and have seen over the last few years, and projecting, I think, even further. So anything that we as a department can be doing to, I don't know, just think creatively. Are there new audiences that we have not necessarily tapped into that we might be able to, just generate some new kinds of outreach and engagement? And then the dean now is looking at trying to figure out, like, micro credentialing. Are there things that we can be doing that maybe are not degree programs as we thought of them, but stacked credentials and other things that we could be meeting needs that aren't currently being met? There's also some interesting stuff around why, the rationale for why we are starting a counseling psych program is because of the need for mental health clinicians. And so there might be some partnerships between like psychology and social work of some creative kinds of I don't know, 3+2 programs where it would be undergrad and masters leading to something that could help with that workforce or that labor need around mental health. So yeah, those are things that I've have access to that I think the department is, energized around as well. And the technology piece is a piece of that. Many of you know that Rick and Tracy created this Center for Technological Innovation, and there's a new person within the college doing that too. So we just know that that's also something we can be energized around, is thinking about sort of infusing technology into individual courses, making them online, so distance, or infusing it into our curricular offerings and making it like a technology requirement. And so, those are some of the things that I think the department is thinking about and prioritizing in terms of the curricular efforts and potential alignment with the Provost's new academic plan, which I have to look at more closely.
That's helpful. Thanks, Mark.
Did other people think of ideas? I don't know if you were able to read the plan or listen to the video. Donna, go ahead.
Sure. Excuse me for my rough voice this morning. This is Donna, not Donald. All right. So I had two things that I want to points I wanted to make, and it was based on the last question, what you're saying. So the first one is just a reminder that we can make our graduates more highly competitive if they take this anti-racist certificate. I even have some articles, there might be social media, I can't recall. Yeah, it is social media, where they're saying that schools are looking for proof that you've had diversity training. They're making that part of the interview process. So that's one. And then the other one is, I read this yesterday, and I did this myself as an undergraduate to make myself more competitive. It just came to me, but there's a big study out saying that when students have, which is pretty obvious, have double majors, they are extremely, I forgot the percentage more, but more competitive on the marketplace. So maybe we can do more to see if it's possible or make recommendations that they get, one or both of those, double major and or, well, definitely the certificate. So those were two things that came to mind.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Those are great ideas. I think that, yeah, the certificate could definitely grow. There's talk right now also of maybe something specific around that could be connected to the certificate, but some other type of training certification specifically for school leaders that their job is DEI. And so I know there's been some initial conversations with Lori about that, or the potential for that could meet some of this need of like saying that, yes, I'm certified in this area in some ways. The dual major is definitely something too. We know that part of why, like Leah was mentioning, the new dual degree, like students, especially students that want to be teachers and special educators, having like dual license makes them much more competitive for employment afterwards. And so, yeah, there's some changes we've been doing around that, which is a little different than a double major, but still it's the same idea that how can savvy students that are trying to make the most of their degrees and what comes after, they're going to be looking at options that, hey, I could get two majors here if I'm over in arts and sciences, or if I go to this other institution. Whereas if I come to Ohio State and EHE, like it might not have that. So how do we try to build in some more flexibility, especially with the new GE, because the new GE model like decreased the requirement, the requirement total, and it's going to allow a lot more flexibility for students. But we also don't have a lot of GEs in our college, so we're missing out on some of that. So I know that we're trying to, the dean wants to see more emphasis placed on creating new GE classes. And I know some have tried and got turned down. So Lauren and DLC, thank you for all your efforts in trying to get the GE approved, and just, yeah, it wasn't the best experience and just kept getting denied for different reasons. So we know it's a struggle and difficult, so appreciate people trying. But yeah, just thinking about that and thinking about ways we can just think differently about our curricular offerings. One thing that the double majors brought up is that ASC, Arts and Sciences, is proposing a new leadership studies minor or major, like a complete major that's going to be leadership studies. And it's framed as interdisciplinary arts and sciences. So basically almost all the arts and sciences department have class options in there. They met with Amy Barnes, who does undergraduate leadership in NISA, and Tasha Snyder, who's filling in for the college academic affairs because Arkana Inman left. So, and myself, and we met with arts and sciences, and their whole push is this, hey, a student in arts and sciences could easily add this leadership studies major and double major with one of the arts and sciences majors and how they're framing it. And it's a whole ploy. I think this is personally, I should probably stop recording, but just to be able to keep their students and have them to be able to double major within arts and sciences and add this leadership studies on. We felt our hands were tied. They had already kind of put in all the work and moved forward and wanted our blessing. And if we can, and so we were like, okay, well, if you can add these classes, then I guess we have to be on board, because if we don't, then we'll just get left behind. So hopefully we'll have options and education will be a part of it. But I think everybody's trying to be strategic and trying to grow enrollments. So we have to also be on board and thinking about that. I think what's nice is that Ed Studies and our graduate focus maybe allows us, I don't know, not to fall into that undergrad competition too much, though I know we have undergraduate programs and courses that we need and that help our salaries. So we need to continue to engage that as well. Many people, this didn't come up, but we've often been asked about like, oh, what's the return to the department in terms of credit hour generation with undergrad courses versus grad courses. And the way we calculate that for our specials account, which connects to our GTA hiring and lecturer hiring, that we get more return on dollar or return on credit hours at the graduate level than undergraduate level. That is true. But the college has made it clear undergraduate tuition and hours pay our general funds, which is where our salaries as generally funded employees come from. So it's not like, hey, we should just focus on grads because we need all of it, because they just kind of go to different pots. So we do still need the large undergraduate enrollments so that, faculty and staff can get paid. I hope that's helpful. Other questions around maybe individual courses? People might just not know where to go or what to do. If you have an idea for a course or you want to change a course.
I have an idea for a course. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I have an idea for a course, and I had already spoken to Peter about it. I'm not only passionate about equity when it comes to minoritized populations, but also those who live in poverty. I mean, just in the last 3 days, I've been approached by people for money. I'm just trying to, like go into a store just begging for money. But anyway, when I was at Vanderbilt, I taught a course on working with children and youth who live in poverty, and it was highly enrolled, like 25 students, which was odd at that, which was really high at that university. So anyway, I'm thinking about bringing that course here, and I could turn it around really quickly in terms of, submitting the documentation. But I just want to give you the heads up since you asked, Mark.
Great, thanks. Excellent example. So, so let's say we'll take Donna's example. What you want to do, the first place you want to do, yes, talk to your program chair or assistant chair just so they know, because part of new courses, new ideas is that do we have capacity? And can it be part of your load? Because that's one of the questions. So the best place to start is this go.osu.edu ES curriculum. Qualtrics has a lot of information. It might look like it's a lot, like it's onerous, like there's a lot of details, but it helps to streamline. And especially if you just want to do a course change, it's an easy thing. If you just want to do, if you have a new course, then there's details, connection to the EHE syllabus template. That's kind of the main thing. Like you want to start there, especially as you're building out the course. But it has the things you're required to do. So once you submit that, an email is automatically sent to your program or assistant chair to give approval, right? Because that's the first line of approval. Then once they approve, it shoots an email to, if it's an undergrad course, it goes to Dusty as the chair of undergraduate studies. If it's a graduate course, it goes to Jackie Blunt as the chair of grad studies. And then that's when they review and it goes into the graduate studies agenda. So that's then they have to review, they might have some feedback, questions about concurrence, things like that. And then once it's approved, then it goes on to EHE curriculum. So that's the kind of general process. Then after EHE curriculum approves, then Elisa wrote like all the different flow charts, but yeah, it will go to different places, but generally would go to either the graduate school or OAA. And then after the graduate school would go to yeah, OAA through the Council on Academic Affairs, or CAA, to review new courses. So course changes easy if you just want to update the title. You don't necessarily have to go through that curriculum Qualtrics, because that's just a little bit simpler. We're trying to streamline those that I, as associate chair, can just review and approve those and get them through the system. They still do have to go through curriculum, but we move it right to EHE curriculum. It kind of bypasses the individual department committees to review. And those are pretty quick, but they still have to go and be approved by the EHE curriculum committee, which meets once a month. So that's something to be thinking about with planning. If you're like, I want to offer this course next semester, it's like, oh, that's probably not going to happen. So we need this fall for things that you want to be able to offer next fall. So you really want to be planning advance, especially for new courses. But we have some wiggle room. So if you submit it in January, we could probably still get it on the books for fall, or we put an offering as a one-time sort of like seminar or one-time offering request. And those are supposed to be a way to, hey, test out a new course, make sure, you know, that you can just kind of like figure out what it means in this context, or if there's demand. And then while you're using that one-time offering, you can then be working on the permanent offering request and proposal. So that's some wiggle room there. If you're like, we really need to offer this, we can figure out ways that we have some temporary classes that can fulfill that. And then you can be working on the more permanent request. So I hope that helps. Steve?
Yes, can you hear me? Oh,
Yeah.
well, good morning, everyone. Mark, thanks for setting this up and sharing the information. I had a question / reaction to some of the things you just shared about the process of creating a new course and the need to get approval by the program chair at first. And you mentioned that that I guess a part of that approval would be dependent on if there's faculty to cover the course or the resources, I guess. And it feels kind of like a huge bottleneck, because it's not maybe aligned with the incentives of the college as much, because we were talking about credit hour generation before, but we're making decisions at program curriculum development at the program level. So that part feels like a little misaligned that can just delay a process, even if getting a course on the books. So say if we did get a course on the books, but then later on, you know, we did have coverage for it somehow, some way, you know, maybe through a college or university initiative, it seems like the process could be stalled a lot if we're waiting for program approval at that level, unless I misunderstood something. Please correct me where I did. And I know you also followed up and said that you can get a one-time course approval as like a tester. And I like that idea, but so that was just my reaction and comment to the process. Unless I misunderstood something, like getting a course created, we had to be started to get program approval or approval from your program chair. But if that's not necessarily aligned with, say, at the administration level, at the university or departmental level, then it can cause a course to not even go through the whole process to get approved. And then say that might have to be delayed a whole semester to start the process of approval, which might take longer eventually. So then when we wanted to offer the course, we're still going to be maybe months or weeks behind to offer to put it out there. So I don't know if there's any solution to that, but I'm just naming that or just sharing that reaction to that, the process.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I mean, it really is. It takes advanced planning. I think because they don't want all these new courses being added that either aren't going to make or aren't going to be successful, aren't necessarily fulfilling a need. I'm not saying this is you, but it could just be like, hey, I'm an individual faculty member. I have this interest and I want to teach a course on it, you know, like, because I'm interested in it, because but like, there's no student demand, or it's not built into a program as a requirement, right? Or to fill a requirement. And then we come up with those issues of like, is the course going to make? then we have to cancel the class and some, like 5 students have enrolled, they have to find another one. So we're trying to prevent some of that. And I'm not saying that that's gonna happen, but that forward planning and making sure it's connected to a larger program requirement or meeting some need or demand. That's why we want people to be thinking about that as they are proposing. And so again, the best way to start is, hey, I have an idea for a class. And this is why I think it will be a good class and it will make all of that. Hey, let's test it out with a one-time offering or a seminar course and really just see, yes, it is going to make that. Then that buys you some time to actually then create all of those, like approvals that are going to have to go, you kind of build that timeline out. So that would be my suggestion on where to start. Obviously, or maybe not obviously, but we've experienced before when something is a priority of the leadership, things can be expedited more so than maybe other things. And I'll just leave that at that. So if there is some specific demand or you're filling a need that like is urgent, there's always ways to kind of get things moved through. It still has to get approved at all those levels. We just put some more urgency behind it. Does that help?
Yeah, that makes sense. And with especially with the going for the one-time seminar thing, but from my perspective, I don't know if other faculty feel that way, feel this way, but if I'm creating a course, then I would have the expectation that the course would be offered more than once, which means the seminar format, the one time, would be less of an incentive for me. But I also get if there's not demand, there's not demand. You can't do anything about that. So that's one point. But it also sounds like with the approval process, 2 things are conflated. One is that the course content is wrapped with the approval for, is there demand for the course? Because you can have the course content approved, and then maybe the faculty can demonstrate that there's demand to get it permanently on the books at some point. But so it just, with those 2 things being wrapped together, it just, it could be a challenge. It might be a challenge from my perspective to push a course through and just to be timely with the courses that we offer, because some faculty, and I'm not, some faculty may just be thinking ahead of, courses to offer, but, and then when the leadership or whoever, when the trends in the wider public or students come around, that now they're interested, say like in anti-racist or diversity courses, now it takes a little longer to get those courses approved. And I know there's probably no easy fix to what I'm just bringing up. So I'm just sharing, some reactions, ideas for the whole process. So that's all.
Thanks. And yeah, I'll give an example. So HESA, a few years back, we created an undergraduate minor in higher ed and student affairs that we thought would have a lot of demand, right? We thought like students were interested in student affairs that would build in our leadership. And so we created a couple courses that were new. One of those was I created, given my expertise, the Asian American Student Experience course. That was probably 2018, 2019, I don't know. And it has never been offered. So you're right. And I feel like, oh, wow, like that was a lot to put into it. Because it was connected to an elective for this new program that we were proposing and got accepted. I just haven't been able to fit it in. And the times I tried to offer it, it didn't make. And yeah, so I had to teach a different course. So they are connected, and it's something to be thinking about. I don't think it should prevent anybody from thinking innovatively about trying to create new courses. What Elisa said is that we also have, part of this is, hey, we have a lot of courses on the books. Not all of them are being offered. Are there courses we can look back to and update rather than creating a brand new course? And some of those are dormant or archive courses that don't even show on the catalog, but have been in the past. We had one recently with one of our qualitative courses where we thought, oh, it had gotten out of dormant status, but it actually hadn't been. So we're offering that as a seminar course instead, because the permanent offering is not there. But yeah, we just need the syllabus to request it out of archive status. So yeah, they're all tied together, Steve. Hopefully, yes, you're saying that they're conflated. It's true. They're all lots of different things and influences on, yeah, why we put our time into curriculum development and what does it look like outside of that. I will say we'll announce on Tuesday as we are developing and launching based on some feedback we've already been getting and some of the things we talked about at the department retreat in August, is a teaching and curricular innovation incentive program that would allow people time, a course release to focus on developing a new class. And so we do recognize some of these issues that are coming up, and we're all working on curriculum, and that's part of our annual review, teaching and curriculum. So, but we do want to recognize, hey, somebody has a really good idea, and they just need time to be able to implement it and propose it. And then instead of just getting a course release, we're really looking at it being a sort of a year-long, 3-semester incentive program, to where the fall you'll get a course release to work on a new class. Then in spring, you'll get support to actually move it through approval processes. And then the next year, when you actually offer that new course, then you would get a professional development incentive stipend of, maybe we're working out the details, but yeah, $1,000 or $2,000. So that feels like, okay, I went through this whole process. It's like a recognition of the work that you would be doing. So you get a preview of that for Tuesday's department meeting, but
Yeah.
it is hopefully going to help to sort of just get people to feel like, yeah, I'm putting a lot of energy into this to create something new, and I'm getting support for that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks, Mark. Thanks for that breaking news, and just thanks for entertaining my questions and comments as well. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Are there other?
Before we,
Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah, before we move on, and I am by no means contradicting anything you said. I think it's a case by case basis. One of the best things that happened with me with my initial courses was doing that one time course. So, well, first of all, it looks good on CV, curriculum development. All right, so I'm thinking about that, Steve. But beyond that, though, I mean, it was the best experience that I could go ahead and put this forward, teach the class, refine it based on students I had in there, et cetera, et cetera. And that was just unique. I'd never been at a university that offered that. So I want to give a shout out and say, I really like that. And, and sometimes it is one because we need, you want to go ahead and teach it, a sense of urgency, but you don't have time to really go through the full blown process, which is so bureaucratic. So I would say, go for it. I really, it was wonderful. It has been for all the one-time courses that did become permanent.
Great, thanks so much for sharing that, Donna.
You're welcome, Stephen.
Other questions? Oh, I wanted to address, Belinda had mentioned about at what point does QM review happen? So thanks, Elisa, for putting the link to where to get that information about QM. So Quality Matters is the sort of the review and rubric that the college requires for any online or fully online distance learning course. So that needs to happen before it gets to EHE curriculum. And what Lori and I have been talking about is that as you are, okay, we want to add more flexibility in how our courses are delivered. So what we are hoping that as people develop new courses, that they are that you automatically build in that ability for them to be offered fully online. So that when you get the online approval, all the other ones are approved with it. Like it can be multiple modalities. It's not to say you will teach it online, but we just want to be able to offer and build in that flexibility of how it's delivered from the from when it's approved. So when that needs to happen is concurrently when it's being reviewed or proposed by the department, grad studies committee or undergraduate studies committee. We know that sometimes those QM reviews can be delayed, but we don't want to have that be delay, like pushed back because of the timing of when those committees meet and the curriculum committee. They just need to be complete by the time the curriculum committee meets. So it's often best if you are planning in advance, if you have the time to get that all up front, to submit the request for a QM review before you've submitted anything to the department grad studies to review. But it often doesn't happen that way because of you don't want to be delayed. So I can help work through some of that, but QM needs to happen before it can be on the agenda for the college curriculum committee to approve, if that's helpful in terms of timing. And Chanel Walker is like our liaison and staff member connected to our department in terms of that office. I can't remember their office, but she does a lot of our QM reviews and supporting faculty and creating or infusing the online components to their class.
Okay, thanks. It's actually an old course that we'd like to offer or up the rating from so that it could be offered hybrid and or fully online. So I'll go back and review the processes that Alyssa said, and I think I probably need to start with the Quality Matters because it's an old course. It's the same course. It just needs to get the check off.
So we can check, if you want to write EHES scheduling email, we can check in that and just see like what's the current approval for what it is to be offered. And if you're saying it's an old course, it's most likely not approved for online. So it would just be a course change request and then adding the online delivery, but you would need the QM again before it gets onto the EHE agenda. And that online delivery change, because it's already an approved course, that can bypass the grad studies committee. And so move it right forward. So once you have the QM review, that's all we need, and you can just send it to me or that scheduling email.
Okay, we've done this once before, but I just wasn't sure if relatively recently, I just wasn't sure if the process had changed.
No, it should be same.
Thanks.
Thank you. Other questions or thoughts coming up for people? And one thing I meant to mention this while Steve was still on, but one of the things that we're also grappling with, and it kind of connects to what Elisa was saying in terms of dormant courses, is that as we're thinking new, we also have to think about what are we letting go. And I think that's part of it is every year we get a list of courses that have not been offered a certain number of years that then would go into limbo status and are then, after a certain time in limbo, then they are automatically archived. But if we can be intentional about like we're purposely choosing to archive these classes because they're just not being offered, or we know we don't have the faculty expertise anymore, that just helps to narrow our focus and offerings a little bit more. So we are asking you to create or think new and innovatively. We're also thinking about what we need to stop doing and let go of because of capacity. So.
Oh, Mark, can I add something real quick? Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy Friday. I wanted to put that in there because that process might relieve a little bit of nuances because the courses are on the books, there are archived, and it's not creating something from scratch. and just really sort of, like I said, refreshing those courses. Because as you can, for those who haven't gone through the curriculum process, and from my role at grad studies and seeing the curriculum at its the beginning stages, it does take about, depends on what a course is. It could take 3 months, 6 months, it could take a whole year. If it's a program, it could take a year and a half. And sometimes that could be it seems like it's very lengthy, but that actually might be faster than what we think. Especially if there's going to be hiccups, with the process. And if I know Mark knows this, that we've run into where faculty haven't considered any sort of, is it congruence, or like with other, with other departments of like who are offering concurrence. Thank you. I was like, there's a word. Yes.
Which is a big
concurrence
thing.
issues.
We all still don't really know how to get a handle of it.
Mhm.
It's basically, is there some other offering similar that's already happening in the university? We don't want to have too much similarity. And so we ask for their approval that it's not a concurrence issue. And so a lot of times faculty are like, "Ooh, well, how am I supposed to know? This university is so big." So we can help with it, but then I'm also like, well, who am I supposed to ask? Like, so we can troubleshoot, and it really doesn't. We want to try to do that up front and do some due diligence. The example, if you're teaching, you're trying to propose a class or a program that has psychology in the title, you probably need to check with the psych department. Do they have something similar already? And if they do, then it's like, oh, you just have to make sure to add education, right? Or something like that. Thanks, Belinda. So yeah, that's where it tries to make sure we're not too similar, or that we're distinct, so that it's not conflicting and concurrent. So thanks for bringing that up, Elisa. And again, we can help if you have questions about that. I think usually they want to know up front, like when we enter it into the curriculum system, you are supposed to be asked, did you already get concurrence or check concurrence? And then we usually say no, and then we have to bring it up later. So at some point in the process, you have to kind of check, but it doesn't have to be, don't let that limit you or prevent you from moving it forward. Thanks, Tracy. Anything else coming up for people? We have not talked specifically about this system. It's called curriculum.osu.edu. All of our faculty have access to that, but we don't want you to use it because in our department, we try to streamline and add some quality control up front for new requests. So typically it's just been our scheduler. So Sean Gunter, who will be starting on Monday, will take the lead on that and submitting new requests or course change requests through the curriculum catalog. So that once something's in the catalog and it's fully approved, it's because it's gone through that system. Our Qualtrics is just to get things collected and all that information that has to go into that system so that we know what to put. But there are some faculty that just go into curriculum and try to add things, which is fine. We just try to, again, that quality control up front so that we don't have to go back and change things in case a faculty like we entered something incorrectly. Yeah, so that's hopefully helps clarify what those different systems are. And that is different than the actual scheduling. So I've learned so much about the scheduling system, which is different than the curriculum, but are closely connected because we can't schedule anything that's not approved in curriculum. So like if a course is not approved for DL or distance learning in curriculum, we cannot schedule it. I mean, we can, but we're not supposed to schedule it as DL in the actual scheduling system, as an example of how those we have to make sure there's alignment there. Well, great. Well, I'll stay on a couple minutes if there's any individual questions, but yay, thanks for joining this Let's Connect and connecting around curriculum processes. And I don't remember if we have the topic for the next one yet. Do we, Elisa? Okay, we will. We'll make sure that goes out, but really do appreciate you spending time this morning thinking about curriculum, and yeah, good luck and have a great weekend.